This video is brought to you by Recurrent, an essential EV tool that gives free access to TFL EV viewers in the US. With Recurrent, EV shoppers can check range and battery info on used cars. EV owners can connect to compare their range and battery health to similar vehicles. And EV sellers can use Recurrent to get more money for their sales. With Recurrent, we can find, drive, and sell electric cars positively. Click on the link in the description below to get free access to Recurrent's amazing EV tools.
Ladies and gentlemen, I present to you the most powerful production Porsche ever made. This is the 2026 all-electric Porsche Cayenne Turbo. It puts out up to 1,139 horsepower. Let's talk about styling because it is a big deal, and a lot of that has to do with the fact that they've managed to lower the drag coefficient, and this vehicle has a new front end. Actually, it's almost all new, starting with the Matrix design headlights here, and then going up to the front. Now, almost everything you're looking at actually has a practical reason for being there. There's not just plastic that they're throwing in there. And that's including underneath the headlights. That section is actually venting and aerodynamics. It can vent the brakes with cooling, and it helps aerodynamic flow. Then, when you go a little bit lower to the front end balance, that section, those are shutters, and they open. Actually, it's rather extreme, the amount of opening that's there. So they'll open and close depending on what you need in terms of your aero, also for heating and cooling. So for instance, if it's really cold outside and you want that battery to be a little bit toastier, those will close, allowing for greater heat inside. You open it up for better cooling throughout the battery section. That's really what it's about, right? Speaking of the front end, being that this is an electric Cayenne, if you have the key in your pocket, you stroke the nose, and it says hello, and look at that, 3.2 cubic feet of cargo space. It's actually pretty deep right here. That is enough for hair product for Roman easily. And it looks like there's another little shelf right here and a tiny one right here. So lots of space, and it's lit. And this is the only thing I think you can change on the car, which is its washer fluid. The design continues, and that's because we're talking about a variety of different wheel packages that are available. Now you can get 20, 21, or in this case, 22-inch wheels, and there are a bunch of them. Look at that. See those brakes in there? 16.5-inch brakes, some of the largest that have ever been added to a Porsche. And then, of course, you have this black design here, which covers the wheel arch, and then it drops down here to this three-dimensional design for aero, where it says turbo. Right? Now, that works all the way back to the rear arch. And here's something that's kind of cool, but you gotta, I'm not 100% sure you'll be able to see it, but if you look here, this is a smooth surface, the way it drops back. That's actually for aero as well. There's a lot of aero in this vehicle. You do have staggered wheels. They are much wider in the back. Just in case you were wondering, yes, four-wheel steering is available. These will turn up to 5 degrees. Then you have the rear section, which is very Porsche. This lighting element here is reminiscent of what you would see on the back of the new 911. If you look at this rear end here, this is all bespoke to the turbo as well. Okay, something you should know. This car has unique charging things going on. So let's start on this side, which is the passenger side. I'm gonna push this. That's so cool. Look at that retract. That, my friends, J1772 setup. However, on the other side of the vehicle, a very similar type of door. You push that and you have the NACS connection. You can also hook up CCS. So it's able to charge pretty much anywhere with any type of charger. Different ways to charge this vehicle. Well, we already covered the fact that you can plug it in 2 different ways, right? Well, there's more, because you can do inductive charging. Now here's the deal. Porsche will either allow you to put in the wiring harness or the full pad, the receiver, and it works with this. This is inductive charging, and it will charge up to 11 kilowatts, allowing you to park over it without having to hook anything up and charge in your garage. Let's talk about specs, because we are talking about a vehicle that has a 113 kilowatt hour battery, which is big. And it's an interesting battery because it's actually double cooled. It's sandwiched between 2 coolers, which is very neat, and it's not very tall. So that means that the vehicle is actually lower inside than perhaps other electric vehicles. But here's where all of that really plays out. 1,139 horsepower. Now that is available for up to 10 seconds when you're doing your push to pass button, which is a huge burst of power, but still, I mean, that is a lot. So what about its 0 to 60 times? 2.4 seconds. What about its quarter mile time? Under 10 seconds, 9.9 seconds. That's a quarter mile. What about its top speed? This is a remarkably fast car because it can go up to 162 miles per hour. A bunch of Autobahn freaks are obviously the ones who tuned this vehicle. So there you go. Now, what about active aero? And it does have it. Well, come on back here and we're going to talk about that because we do have a spoiler up here and this will do a couple different things. So if you are trying to get super slippery, it'll just be flush with the roof. If you need downforce, it'll do this. But if you're braking, it'll shoot up to help slow down the vehicle. In addition, look at that. It is happy to see us. This section pops out, and this actually helps the aerodynamic flow, making this vehicle more efficient, and according to Porsche, will give you up to 15 miles more range. Incredible screens in this vehicle. This is a 14.25 curved OLED screen. It's got quite a curve to it as well. And then, why have one curved screen when you can have another? This is a 12.5-inch OLED screen, which is curved here. We're going to talk about the controls in this little pad right here in a second. And then this, for the passenger, optional 14.9-inch screen. So just screens everywhere. And, you know, you have these little fillers in between and all that too, right? There's so much going on. So before I get too terribly excited and have like a, joygasm with all this stuff that's in here, understand this. We are in the top of the line version of this vehicle, and there's so much happening with the interior, and part of that has to do with the fact that it's an all-electric vehicle. As such, you have the most modern components that Porsche can put into a vehicle, and they're right here in front of us. So let's start with the screen here, of course. Now, I know a lot of you guys are like, I wish it was, regular analog dials. And I would agree with you, but because we are in an electric vehicle, and this is the reason I bring it up, you have a tech feel to it, and you might as well just go for it, right? Oh, by the way, you still have this if you want analog. Yes, that's right. Chrono clock, very Porsche, right? Also, speaking of Porsche, your start button is over here on the left. Right over here. Yep, there's the button right there. And of course, that's the whole Le Mans, the start thing and all that stuff. And then your gear lever is right here. Okay, reverse, neutral, drive. That's all you have to do. And then you hit the button here for park. Yeah, I would rather this be here, but there's a reason why this is the way it is. So this curve here looks really cool. Steering wheel controls, you may recognize them because a lot of this does come from other Porsche products. It's including your drive modes, which if I switch this around, you can go from normal to sport, sport plus, you have comfort, and you have off-road. And when I hit those different things and I rotate this, you're going to see all of these things change too, including the chassis and the level. It's actually lifting and lowering us based on that because there's two suspensions basically going on here. So there's a air suspension that lifts you up and lowers you and whatnot. And there's also an optional active air suspension that goes on top of that, which helps you as you're driving around. And there are several different controls you can mess with in terms of that suspension setup. What's really interesting about it is the way this screen is curved. I've never seen that before. Never. So it takes a little bit of getting used to. So this is what the Germans did to solve this, which I think is kind of ingenious. This is a soft pad right here. Your hand is supposed to rest here, right? And then you're able to hit the controls instead of having like a shaky hand trying to hit these controls. And then they added haptic feedback as well. So it's really not much in terms of feel, but it's more sound. Hear that? Oh, well, there we go, shut that down. Click, click. There's another little click. That's how this works here. And then you have these other controls here, which is for heating and air conditioning, but they have a backup, which is actual switches here. So this is your temperature. You can go up and down using this. And then temperature, you can screw around with that right there. And then this, see this right here? Volume control. Yep.
It's kind of an interesting mix. I tell you, it probably takes some time to get used to. Then, if you're a passenger, you've got that giant 14.9-inch screen. And that screen allows you to plug in and play video games even when you're driving. Now, granted, that's only for the passenger, so the driver's not allowed to play video games while he drives. But passenger can watch some YouTube, of course. My favorite video, Roman being made fun of by Nathan. And this is the part that really freaks me out. Now, bear in mind, I live in California, a very warm state now, but a majority of TFL, well, they still live in snow country. And you know what snow country demands? Warmth. This car has insane warmth. Bear with me. The interior has panels that are heated. This is heated. Yep. The door panels, those are heated too. I'm not kidding. Steering wheel, obviously heated. Seats, obviously heated. So if you think about it, and that's also the back seats as well, and back door panels. So this car is like a cocoon of heat, which allows you in cold weather conditions to be extremely warm and toasty. But let's say you are in Southern California, which has really nice skies, and you don't have to look at snow and horrible things, and you want to look up. Oh, what is that? Ah, Duff. This can be charged electrically to go opaque. But here's the thing that Porsche did. This actually opens. Let's see if I can do it. Oh, yeah. Look at that. No other manufacturer that I can think of has a panel that can go opaque that actually opens. Crazy, right? So this, and it's huge. It goes all the way back over there. Massive. Rumor has it Germans like to do things in a big way. Now, there is no shade that goes on here because you have this that can actually go opaque. And here we go. Oh, look at that. If you look up, I'll make it go. It just went, and I'm going to do that. And it's all clear. And I'm going to do that. Oh, that's so cool. How German is that? So you're able to play with that as well. I do like having that. I would probably keep this always like this, so my bald head doesn't burn. Although UV, yeah, I'm not too worried about it. So there's like so much going on in here. A couple final things. I'm sure you guys are interested about some of the panels over here. I'm going to open this up. This gives you USB-Cs. And then I'm going to open this up as well. Check this out. Doo-doo. Cup holder way down there. More USB-C. Ah, here's your DC right over here. Yeah, and this is deep too. It goes way down there. So there's like a lot of utility just in the front of the car. But after all that explaining, what about the back seat? Well, it's more than just a regular back seat. First of all, let's close that. This is the heating, air conditioning controls here. And as you can see, fully illuminated. And you have controls for both sides, which is cool. And then you have, of course, the USB-Cs. But here's the thing. Let's say you're ridiculously tall, like, oh, I don't know, Andre, and you need a little bit more space. Well, you reach down here, look down there, and that is where your seat controls are. So check this out. I'm moving back. I just moved back an inch. I got more room. Oh, but I want to lay back a little bit because Andre likes to lay back a little bit. I just did. Look at that. You're able to control the back seats a little bit and get some extra space and extra comfort, which is super cool. Also, they're ridiculously comfortable seats. And then let's look at this. There we go. You have cup holders here. Good place for the arm. And if I adjust the seat, as you can see, this stays put because this is actually part of this side of the seat. All in all, though, you're able to go, let me see here. I'll just give it a shot. Moving up. Yes, this cuts into the cargo, but at the same time, if you got a little tiny person up front, wow, this keeps on going. I would lose my legs if I kept going. But that's like 4 inches of travel at least. So a significant amount of travel. Oh, and if you look at the door panel, or actually right here on the sill, you're going to see where the air conditioning vents are too. Up and out of the way, and then your second vents, of course, are on top of the heating air conditioning controls here. Let's talk about utility, because there's a couple tricks up this vehicle's sleeve. Now, first of all, let's pop open the trunk. Yes, of course, it's all electric. Look back here. This is 19.5 cubic feet of cargo space. A little cubby over here and a little section over here as well. And then, of course, I'm going to open this up. This has some cargo space in it as well. But if you want maximum cargo space, you would hit these buttons. Instead of a lever, you're actually hitting these buttons. Now check this out. I hit this. Now it's going to take a second, but what you're going to see is the seat's going to drop. But in order to do that, it has to move the front seat forward in order to make that happen. So the front driver's seat in this case has dropped just a bit, and then this dropped as well. Now, once I do that, what happens is it gives me up to 56.1 cubic feet of cargo space. Yes, that's pretty cool. See, that one goes flat as well. So it's pretty flat in there. Now, believe it or not, this is the entry-level version of the vehicle, and it still looks super cool, but you can tell there are some differences between this and the turbo. And really the main difference is, well, underneath. Yes, the batteries are the same, so it still has a 113 kilowatt hour battery. However, output is far less. Maximum output on this vehicle is 402 horsepower. You can get a little bit of a blip of extra power for launch control. But if you look at the design, you can tell they absolutely kept the same length, the same height, but the big difference is the width, because you don't have the blistering sides going on here. You do not have this section here which pops out for active aero, but you do have the spoiler which still does move, which is very cool. Otherwise, very similar vehicle, far less expensive, not as powerful, but it should still have killer range. What is that range? We don't know yet. They haven't officially released it. However, I can say that you have a 600 kilowatt potential for recharging as you're heading, let's say, downhill or for braking. It is super, super savage, allowing for a lot of power to be shoved back into that battery. So I'm going to assume that the range is going to be pretty good. Ooh, this is a pretty interior. Look at these different colors. And then I'm going to hit the on switch. And okay. So all of the screens are the same in terms of what are available in this vehicle between this and the turbo. But there's something you should know. If you want a unique interior, this is the car to get, because they have a variety of different types of interiors. And on top of that, in terms of colors and fabrics, including fabrics that don't use animals, fabrics that do use animals. And you have different colors for augmented little components here and there. Oh, and I forgot to mention, you also have this entire screen area here for your heads-up display that can pop up and creates a massive image, which I believe is already available on other Porsche products. So that you can use as well, which is super cool. And then you still have this. Look at that sunroof, which I believe can do that, and then turn it on, and oh wait, there it goes, it's on, completely opaque. Very cool. So seating surfaces, a variety of unique ones. Look at this, even this surface here is different with this wood-like design. So that way, I mean, you can get pretty close to making this thing kind of bespoke, your very own design, with your very own type of interior setup, with several different colors and several different fabrics and materials that you can use, and several different color combinations as well. Okay, so let's say you want to get the monster, the turbo. Minimum pricing, $163,000. However, if you want to go for something that doesn't have quite as much power, but it's still ridiculously fast, you can get the non-turbo version, and that is $109,000. Now remember, there are a lot of other amenities that you can add to that to make these prices go up a little bit. But as they stand, those are the prices. When do these vehicles come? The summer of 2026. Thank you so much for joining me for the Fastlane Car. This is Nathan, and I'll see you next time.